Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. Today is Friday, but it is a fantastic podcast today. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. We have had a crazy week, but this is even more crazy because I'm with Christoffer. Chris, he is out of Copenhagen, and here's a little inside baseball. One of our best podcasts was with Thomas Jam. He was the CEO and one of the founders over at Copenhagen Atomics with his thorium reactors. And we have Chris. Chris is the CEO of KiteX. And I mean, this is going to be exciting because this product is pretty darn cool as well. But welcome, Chris. And I can't believe you have gone sailing with Thomas. That is just nuts.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been sailing a Hobie Cat a little bit with Thomas Jam, and we are in the same house. But Copenhagen Atomics, they're moving out quite soon. But we have been going up against each other here in this innovation house in Copenhagen. So yeah,
how fun is that? I'll tell you, his podcast. I just want to give him a shout out again, and we'll have the links in there for that. But your product, I had so much fun getting ready for this. Now, I got a problem. I went to Oklahoma State University, and I'm in Texas now. We talk funny. How do you pronounce your last name? Okay, because I was about to butcher it, and you were so polite. How do you pronounce your last
name? Yeah, my name is Christoffer Sishøj, which has this Danish letter in the end. So I guess it's quite hard to say, but no worries, Stu. It's fine that you butcher it. I'm used to it.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you.
Yeah, I said it. So yeah,
I don't want to go into the beginning of a podcast being ostracized by my guests. So we're going to have some fun here. Okay, your product, KiteX. I love it from the standpoint. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and how you got your vision and where you are, because this is important as you're just entering into the United States market. Even though we're in 110 countries, this is a huge market for you.
Yeah, definitely is. The US is an interesting market for us. So the idea really comes from kites. I mean, you have seen kite surfers probably at the beach sometimes. I kite surf myself. And Andreas, my partner, he also kite surfs. And we were actually developing flying wind turbines at one point. So that's you have a kite, and then that's attached to a string to the ground, and then you make electricity with that. But we sort of saw that it was a little bit too difficult. Takes a lot of money and a lot of time. And at one point, Google, they were also doing it. They had a company called Mekani that they closed down. So we were sitting there needing a lot of funding, and Google has just shut a big project down, used a lot of millions for it, and then we needed to find some cash and develop it even further. So we could see that this is not gonna fly, so to speak.
Good fun.
Then we sort of, so what are the learnings we can take from this? And that's these strings that we use. Our wind turbine is tethered to the ground with guy lines, like a kite actually. So we take all the forces, and these strings, they are Dyneema strings. They're 8 times stronger than steel. So that's really where the insights come from. I mean, kite surfing, we are flying around there, jumping up tens of meters in the air. And these, I guess one would call them stitching strings, right? They can hold the weight of a person. So why not tether a turbine to it and then save a ton of the materials? Our turbines, they only consume 10% of the materials compared to a traditional turbine. And that makes them super light, much easier to install since you don't need the heavy equipment.
Right.
And then it's even greener than current wind turbines, which are some of the greenest technology out there. Yeah,
I'm amazed. And when I went through this, just as a side note, how cool is this? Because it is portable. And I want to ask a couple things. So the design on it is very lightweight. And I see on your marketing things that you've got it hooked to your iPhone, and you're sitting there so you can see the generation of your wind turbine and how much it's generating. Yeah. So, okay, we have it in a portable bag.
Yes.
I mean, you got a bag, you bring it up, you put it up. It's like 20 minutes to set up.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, you got your thing, you got your iPhone, but you got to go from wind power to a battery source in order to do this. And I have Jackeries, and I noticed that you guys like the Jackery. So what do we do? Okay, we take 20 minutes and then we set it up. Now we got a wind turbine, and now you go to a Jackery. What do you do? How do you go from here to here?
So yeah, that's a really good question, and it's actually a key part of our technology. I would say we have this we call the ground station unit, which is a programmable DC to DC converter, and DC that's a direct current, right? So the turbine that has a generator up there, the wind spins the blades, the blades they turn the gear, and on the gear there is a small generator that has alternating current in that. Then we have a bunch of electronics that makes this into DC, and then we send that DC down the cables down the turbine and over to this ground station unit, and this ground station unit that samples the control loop 500,000 times per second, and then we can emulate a solar panel. This is sort of the key. We don't have really, there's nobody at this current moment in time that can do the same as we are doing. We have a solar emulator, so your Jackery unit that thinks it's seeing a solar panel, so we can just plug it directly into the port of your Jackery unit with our small ground station there. It also took us a long time to develop it, I would say. So it's a custom electronics. Yeah,
because the little Jackery units are phenomenal. I mean, you throw it out there, and I've got several. In fact, the Jackery units, because I have so many either different places, and I love it because I can run a office off of, you bring them out, and I got to have internet all the time, and we have power problems sometimes, and so it's nice to throw that in. I got an office, life's good.
Yeah,
this is a big difference though, because you may not have wind, you may not have solar all the time, and having a couple of these things, can you bring up several of your kites and then tie them into a daisy chain?
No, you cannot really. I mean, you cannot daisy chain. We're going into the technical details here, but you can run several in parallel. And put them in like that. So no serious, but you could daisy chain them, and maybe we could see something in this in the future. But usually people just get one turbine at the moment, right? But this is exactly what we also saw when we transitioned into this. We saw that this for these portable power stations, the Jackeries, the EcoFlows, the Goal Zero units, right? There is nobody making wind power for these units. And we had a lot of customers who have these units, and half of our customers already using sun, but sometimes, as you say, the sun is not out, and that's where the wind comes in. And these two technologies, solar and wind, they are sort of really complementary because, if it's good weather and there's no cloud inside, then it's usually not that windy either. But vice versa, when it's overcast, then it's usually also windy where your solar doesn't work. So they complement each other really well.
Well, your price point on your website says $1,800 for $2,000 in the U.S. That's fabulous, and then you throw that in, and quite honestly, because the way I could see me buying a couple, and this to me would be an absolute add-on for this kind of thing, because in Texas we're having grid problems. And having this is almost like the best of all worlds. Throw it out there and have your solar, but then I'm over here going, this would be really darn cool, And so, now, so in the U.S., you've got your station, you're on your iPhone, you see what everything's going on, and somebody's going, great, because this is also portable enough for your van. It's also portable enough for a tiny home so that you can do this. Now, is there any way is it just a simple modification if you wanted to install this more permanently? Are you going to have an upgraded model to a more permanent model?
Yeah, so we actually have two products sort of in the pipeline at the moment. So the portable unit is pretty lightweight, and we keep it we keep it so it's really easy to service, but it's not made for long duration. And we're talking multiple years here, right? It can run for half a year, and then you need to service some parts, the current one. And that's, I mean, if you think about it, you going 20,000 miles in your car, you also want a service. And our turbine in half a year, that's going like 50,000 miles for the revolutions on it.
Right.
So we set out to do, can us be as good as the car industry? And then, yes, we can. But we still more, I mean, we're seeing, like you are saying, could we have a more permanent solution? And yeah, we have some thoughts about this for a small unit, but what we really want at the moment, and where we are already in development, is actually for a little bit larger sized turbine, which can power your house. You know, everybody now, everybody needs EV cars and heat pumps. That's the electrification that we are seeing, and the screen transitioning away from fossil fuels.
Right.
So if we can make the turbine even larger, just a little bit larger, we will make it 2 times or 3 times as large as now. Then we can actually charge an EV up overnight.
Nice.
So, and you're not doing that with the small unit here, but that's sort of the goal.
Right.
And this is where we really can have an impact for the world and supply energy to households
around the world.
Yeah, around the world, and we build it around this. I mean, the sizes for the current turbine, that's 2 meters. It's built up of 2 meter stock that you sort of disassemble. And you know why it's 2 meters long?
Fits in a car.
Yeah, and fits with the normal postal mail, right? Because if you want to buy a small turbine for your house from Alibaba or wherever, then you have to go to your local blacksmith, and then you want a pipe that is 6 meters long, or that's 18 feet or something, right? And you have to carry that in your car, and you cannot ship that by mail. So that was sort of what we are doing here. And the next size, that's going to fit in a 20-foot container, right? So we can ship those around the world.
Okay, now, so if you're building your distribution model for the U.S., so let's say I'm a U.S. customer and I order on the web and it ships through the post, and so you get it right there. Parts, you mentioned 50,000 miles, and you mentioned, you know, you're going to have the turbines taken a look at, and so you're going to have a service center in the U.S. so that we can ship it to you and you can update it and fix it and ship it back. Or how is this model going to work?
Yeah, we might have that in the future. We need to increase our sales. We're at the very start at the moment, but for the moment being, actually, I mean, we are 3D printing most of the components, also the wear components, and the files for this are actually free now. You can go and download them and print them yourselves. So if you break something or wear something down, you could have somebody local to your area print it for you, or you could just do it yourself on your own 3D printer if you have one, of course. And everything is made with really easy to source components. We want to be sustainability is top of our mind. So you should be able to service it yourself. We don't do any fancy tools or anything like this. We have guides how to replace the bells, how to do all of this yourself. I
can't even say your name. How am I going to do anything fancy? I mean,
yeah, okay. So yeah, and that's also why I'm saying we might want a service center at some point. So it's probably a good idea, but we're not quite there yet.
I'll tell you what, this is really, really cool. I can't wait to get my hands on one. And what I'm going to do is then get that old film out there, and then we'll tie it to this podcast, because if I have like 4 offices, and I got 10 screens in each one. And so when you sit back and kind of go, I'm going to need one of these for each one of my offices. So, you know, I can see this really happening, because, you know, if you're a nerd, you can do this. But let's see how this is. I am so excited for you on this endeavor. How do people get a hold of you right now?
So the easiest way is to go and have a look at our website. So that's KiteX, just one word, just like SpaceX, right? .tech, TECH. That's where you can see it. We are quite active on LinkedIn, and you are welcome to contact us there. Yeah, I think that's the best channels at the moment. On our website, there is also a contact email at the bottom. Feel free to write us. We will try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Fantastic. I am just so excited. So we may have the new models coming out in your future development, Let's back up just a little bit in Copenhagen. And you had mentioned that you're in the same building or house with Thomas. Is Copenhagen really taking a look in the Danish market of this kind of investing in businesses? I mean, I kind of picked up on that. You guys are in the same business center. Is this a government incented business model?
No, it's actually a private
Nice.
venture from there's a Swedish company actually called Alfa Laval that do industry, big machinery and stuff like this.
I'm not even going to pretend to try to say that one.
No, fair enough. and they just had some open spaces, and they wanted to see if they could get some startups in to see can we learn from the startups what they are doing, and can we help the startups with what we are good at, right? And then they invited a bunch of startups. We are 20 startups in this. They call it the Alfa Laval Innovation House, which is pretty cool. So they invite us in here and then give us rooms and office spaces, and there's a large workshop area.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this is absolutely wonderful, because the world in order to do any kind of transition, you've got to have the technology. Yes. And we cannot do it without good, low cost. We can't deliver the lowest cost kilowatt per hour to all citizens of the world without technology. And I believe the only way to elevate humanity out of poverty, there's so many people that don't have electricity. This could be a huge market in so many places around the world. This is huge.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on this. That's the way to go. We need the technology to mature that and push it out. Push it out there, and that's what we are. That's what we are fighting for. That's also what Copenhagen Atomics is fighting for. And while they are focused on the bigger cities and stuff like this, then we are engaged with the rural communities where you don't put up nuclear, but where it really makes sense. I mean, you have transmission losses and all this stuff, so it's going to be a mix in the future of all of this.
Absolutely,
I really believe that.
And I'll tell you, I guess we got to reach out to Jackery, and I need to ask them to be a sponsor, since I'm over here touting, that I'm one of their customers and using all their stuff. So we'll have to send them a bill.
I think that's a good idea.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for stopping by the podcast today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Stu.